there's always a craving for someone to take the lead.
Sure.
And, bring this to the household that if you're not going to lead the house, someone else will. Maybe that's your wife. Maybe that's the TV. Maybe that's the news. Maybe that's the world around you.
Sure.
And so if you're not in the Word, letting God guide your steps as a leader, something else will take that place. And most of the time, it's not a good thing. I have now taken the title, Commander of my chair. Of this chair I command.
Engage, number 14.
So today we are talking about leadership and how we are called to lead anyway, regardless of the title. And so it's always interesting that we do leadership because I find that category always interesting because we say that it applies to all of the categories we talk about, husband, dad, and men in training. But nobody likes being a leader, it feels like. If there's no glory in it, I don't feel like people like it.
It's a mixed bag. I think people who love an audience want to be that leader. I think that there are many people out there who want to lead from behind. They don't want to step up and lead, but they definitely want to be in control. Desperately. Yeah. And then there are bad leaders too.
Yeah.
If you're not every leader is great.
Yeah.
Just watch a TikTok, and they call them influencers right now, but they're leading someone, right? And some of these influencers are not great.
Talking to a friend of mine, a statistic I was reading that it was talking about. So, like, say you got a guy who's working employee, just the floor. He gets raised to assistant manager. He does a great job. They raise him to manager. He gets to manager, and they're like, "You suck as a manager." Well, you're not going to demote him, so he just sits there being a bad manager for everyone below him. And so it's interesting to see that, I think deep down we probably all crave to lead. It just shows in different ways, and if you're not prepared, it will show.
Yes.
And so our focus verse here today is Matthew 20:26. Whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant. And I think it's such contrary to what the world looks at that. The idea of like, if you want to lead, you need to serve those around you.
The servant leader.
Yeah, I think the world does not look at leadership that way. They look at a leader shouldn't have to get his hands dirty. Leader's up top. We just follow what he says because he's got the credentials. He's got the experience. He's old in this environment or whatever. And very few times do you see leaders serving those around them.
Yeah, I mean, if you work any amount of time in your career, you'll see that just because someone is above you doesn't make them a great, kind of situation for them. And they struggle. They know they're struggling. And we see this with, like, maybe, say, an NFL team, right? You have a player that they're just not working out. It's not living up to the potential of the draft pick. So they paint it as they're going to try some new scenery. They get traded to XYZ. Maybe a new change of scenery will help that person.
These blue colors, they're messing with me, man. I need some red or something.
This field makes me run faster. These shoes make me catch instead of dropping balls. So leadership. I chuckled at when I would serve at the rec ministry coaching. They would ask, anybody want to coach this right here? Crickets, right? And so all of a sudden, okay, I'll coach, kind of thing. I didn't even know how soccer was played. I know it was on sometimes in place of American football. I know that.
The Ted Lasso treatment.
Right, exactly. So, sure, you line up here, kick the ball around, kind of thing.
Just don't use your hands.
Right, don't use your hands. I knew that was a rule. So, but when I would do that, all the people who did not step up, not all, but some, those dads would sit on the sideline, desperately want to have an opinion, say so. Remember, leading from behind.
Yeah.
They don't want to be a leader, but they want to be in control. And I asked several of them throughout the years, I'm like, "What if you have such an opinion about this and you know the game? Why didn't you? Oh, well, I'm busy and I can't. Just you're not too busy to be on the sideline yelling like a crazy person." So you could see that there's a draw for men to want to lead. I think their insecurities get in the way, or their pride gets in the way. I've seen guys who, the other end of that, coaches that know the game well, they can't control their emotions.
Yeah.
And so while they have all the qualifications of a leader, they're just sometimes a bad one.
Yeah.
And I think men move up and down that scale. It's not like, once I get here, I'm going to stay there.
I'm safe up here now.
I think you move up and down because there are things that we see this all the time with business. The landscape changes daily.
Yeah.
Same for a leader. What you're leading in now, the thought leadership or whatever thing you're pitching, is probably going to change within the next year or so.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, I mean, even the idea of, what you're struggling with now may not be the same thing you're struggling with in the future, or the thing that you thought you had conquered rears its ugly head and you struggle with it later down the road.
Sure.
I do think there's some level of just fear of failure in that too, of we want to lead, but we're like, well, I don't want to fail. I don't want that to reflect badly on me if I'm not up to task. And, I think that tends to cripple a lot of men, and the idea of I want to be passive and just not and let the world move around me. Like, I know a couple of guys I've grown up with and they're husbands now, and they were always kind of timid when I knew them when they were younger. But now they're just so passive in their marriage and in the household. And I'm like, we're called to lead, and I don't know how you're leading currently if you're so timid and passive and afraid to take the reins, kind of thing. And, in that scenario, the wife then has to take the reins, and just it messes with the dynamic. I mean, it's interesting to note that you don't need a big booming voice to lead, but sometimes you need to step forward regardless of how you feel in that scenario.
Yeah, I mean, I know a couple of marriages that the husband is not, it doesn't, as they say, doesn't wear the pants kind of thing, right? That's not maybe the leader in that. And when I say leader in a marriage, I'm not saying like king to servant type of relationship. God made a helper for Adam. That's how I look at mom. But there are certain things that she definitely defers to me on to lead. We discuss something and then we'll make a decision, or I'll make a decision. And so that's what we're talking about here. But when you see a leader in a position that they're struggling in, that they're unprepared for, they don't take criticism well, because you get out there and put yourself out there on, say, TikTok, Instagram, and you start, pitching something that you're a leader in, and you're not a good at that, you will get found out, and boy, the comments will be merciless.
Sure.
And it's hard enough leading when you don't have that to deal with as well. So I would encourage every man out there to definitely explore being a leader. Just pray about it, prepare for it, always be learning.
Yeah.
And that's why we always say, get a mentor that's in front of you, and then be a mentor to someone behind you, because that will help you in your leadership thing. And so I do know that me starting my own business definitely helped with that, because it put me in situations that I had to learn how to be in that situation.
Kind of sink or swim scenario.
Right, exactly. And not every guy gets that opportunity. I get it. But you have that opportunity to, you don't have to read a book on self-help, but, invest in your skill sets so that you can be a leader if the opportunity arises.
Yeah, I mean, there's different kinds of leaders too. I mean, not every leader is built the same way, and everyone leads in different fashions. And I think what's interesting is when you're trying to force a different leadership style into your leadership role, that isn't like doesn't fit your motif, I think it's when struggle becomes really difficult because you're like, well, I've read this book or I have seen other great leaders do it this way. Why isn't I'm doing the same thing? I'm,
Right.
trying to be the loudest in the room. I'm trying to be present kind of thing, and it's not working. And I find it's always interesting that, you know, good leaders tend to bubble up to the top pretty naturally, unless, it's just really hard to find one. But, it's when you think back to group projects in school, there was always kind of that one dude who's like, I'm going to take charge here.
Yeah.
And that dude's like, okay, good or bad. Most of my time was bad because I had to do the stupid leadership thing. But there's always a craving for someone to take the lead.
Sure.
And, bring this to the household that if you're not going to lead the house, someone else will. Maybe that's your wife. Maybe that's the TV. Maybe that's the news. Maybe that's the world around you.
Sure.
And so if you're not in the Word, letting God guide your steps as a leader, something else will take that place. And most of the time, it's not a good thing.
And it's odd that some guys are very content with that. They're like, you know what? I'm good with that. I mean, just leave me alone. I want to just sit in the back, watch TV. Let me go when dinner's ready, kind of thing. And I know that's not what God called us, a man, to be.
Yeah.
And
we're not called to be passive.
No. There's no way you can reflect Christ, I think, if you are hiding in the shadows. You don't have to be the John Wayne of every moment, but, be prepared to, I don't know, just self-confidence is a great thing.
Yeah, and I think that sometimes people, they say, well, I'm a leader at my job. I'm a manager there, or I lead my Sunday school on Sundays, or whatever the case may be. I lead my rec league, and then they're like, well, I've put my quote unquote leadership quota in. I don't need to do this anymore when it comes to the house, or when it comes to my mentor program, or whatever the case may be. And just like we talked about the last one, that the dad show and the husband show are 24/7. Guess what that third one is? It's the leadership one, because someone's looking to you for leadership, whether that's children, your wife, friends, and whether you like that or not, what you're doing is leading somebody. Yeah. So you should be leading them to Christ with your actions, your words, and everything in between.
Yeah, one of the bullets is serving first builds lasting respect, and quiet behind-the-scene work honors God when there's no one watching. And so if you're doing it for your ego, to get attention, or to get that money, what is your reason for being that leader? And, we're watching The Chosen right now, and you can see these guys that they had no aspiration to spread the gospel or be in front of people speaking and healing and that kind of thing. You're just fishermen, tax collectors, doctors, herders, shepherds. And so we always say God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called. And it's sobering news to hear that everybody is called. That is his sons and daughters. Yeah. And
well, I think it's interesting to note, because sometimes I hear people hear that statement, it qualifies the called, and they think, cool, well, I could just sit back and God's going to qualify me over time. And I think sometimes people forget that we are qualified as we put in time with, reading God's word, praying, fellowship with the saints. Like, this is not in any way a passive thing, whether or not you're leading from the front reluctantly or sitting in the back reluctantly. Because I find, God's sense of humor, right, that people who tend to want the spotlight tend not to get it, because God's like, hey, you're doing this for the wrong reasons. I'm going to put you in the back where no one can see you, and I want to see you further my kingdom from the sideline.
That's usually when you get an angry leader.
Yeah.
You get someone who's the self-confidence is tied to their ego, and they may not have the training or the experience, but they want the attention. And I would say if you want attention, you can wear a shirt like I have one right now. And this was done because we were told that we shoot 3 or 4 videos at a time, and we had on the same shirts. And my youngest son, Noah, calling you out, Noah, he's like, man, you got a long podcast. I'm like, that's like several of them.
Yeah.
And so we've been changing shirts recently just to see if that might help. But it's funny to see that people do all kind of things to get attention, whether it be how they dress, how they talk, the car they drive, the watch they wear, all these things, they want attention. And leadership's one of those things that people want attention.
Yeah. I mean, we all crave, I think, attention in different instances, whether it's leadership or, hey, this person's really knowledgeable in this area, or they have the qualifications, they put in the effort. It doesn't all look the same. But I do think that, as we often say, if your heart is not in the right place when you are trying to lead, then you're running the wrong way in the marathon.
Yeah.
And if you're not in God's word and praying and trying to seek godly leadership, then you're not going to know what that looks like and struggle all the more.
And God's not going to bless that either.
No.
I mean, if it's not a godly, kind of situation, calling, done to bring him glory, he's not going to bless that. Yeah. So you may have earthly success, you won't have eternal success. Yeah. And careful, you might get found out.
Yeah. And so we have a bunch of content on leadership on the website, entire categories of workbooks, and we have conversation starters that kind of help you kind of start conversations, the questions to ask people around you about leadership, maybe a good thing to bring to your mentor to ask questions about what leadership could be if you don't know the right questions to ask. Sure. So, a lot of that is for our members. So we have a monthly and annual. If you want to become a member, you can buy that. Get access to all that content. If you don't be a member, that's totally fine. We have some devotions on YouVersion as well as the website, as well as a bunch of articles broken down the similar categories and tags and stuff like that. And so, plenty of content to read if you don't feel called to be a member. But, all membership prices go back into the nonprofit organization just to kind of help
100%
us, do these podcasts, write the content,
all the overhead that goes into this free nonprofit. Nonprofit, isn't it free, right?
Yeah.
If only it ran in sunshine.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Even if you don't want to become a member, consider donating. Any amount helps, and we're so grateful for all the members and the donors we have throughout the year, kind of thing. And so, I think speaking of donors, this podcast is sponsored by Studio 490 Digital Marketing. So they've been a great help for us to do all our digital marketing with all the graphics you see online and that kind of stuff. So we appreciate that. But make sure to check us out at uncommon.org. Check out that membership. Consider donating. Sign up for our newsletter. Like the video. Comment.
Yes.
We love
like the video. So the more watches we get, the higher chance we might get 3 or 4 cents from YouTube. So
might be able to afford a single cup of coffee in a decade.
So if you want to take your computer and just play our videos nonstop, I challenge everybody listening to this to do that to all of our videos. There you go, hacking the code.
There you go. But we always are encouraged by any comments or likes we get. Just shows that we're able to say something that reached you or challenged you. So if you find this is helpful to you, make sure you share it to your friends and family in a gracious way, not a hey, you should listen to this because you suck. So
right.
Love and grace involved in
you're bad. Check out this place.
Yeah. So I just want to thank you guys for listening and watching today, and be on the lookout for our next video. And you want to hit them with it?
If you're gonna be something, be uncommon.
Amen.